Hey. But the hangman would, if he could, tell you to wait, that there is more to the story. Just let him think for a while. This is why 12, or the hangman, is a fitting trap for the tired player of the fool's game. Sure, they have to rest upside down, to a tree, but they get to rest while suffering a new level of wisdom. Due to the questionable sleeping conditions of level 12, most players try to avoid level 12 for long periods of time. Like going to church for an hour once a week or once a year. Most people do not live like or sleep like the hangman. However, it seems that all the blood rushing to the hangman's head makes his thinking rather foggy and draws out the game for those level 12 players. This is why level 12 often takes a long time to get past, if ever. And there's a reason for this. It is to test the player to see if they have what it takes to play the back half of the course. If 12 was not enough of a challenge, 13 requires death as an entry. That's right. Just after the self-induced mental hanging of level 12, a player of the fool's game is required to meet death. Oddly, death gets a bad rap. True, it is often the last card played, and everyone gets to play level 13 once. Even though still trying to be the ultimate one, level 13 is the only level in the fool's game that will seek out each and every player. 13 and its connection to death is the main reason 13 is a rather odd number or level to play, or to be stuck in. Death is often sought by players of the game, and not for the last card in their current game, or actual death, but the death of something within the game. Pain, a bad marriage, a traffic light, taxes, lies, or billions of other reasons and things are reasons players of the fool's game seek death or the end of something. Death of something is often the price for the next stage of life. Puberty is the death of childhood. You cannot have both. This is why 13 has a great value in the process of childhood development. The 13th year is traditionally marked with a rite of passage, or simply becoming a teenager. A rather dubious honor, to say the least. To be linked with a 19-year-old is a bit overwhelming when you just hit 13. 13, the number, the tarot card, like death, it is something many people often fear. To reach death, one must go through the trials of life, or just wait for death to come to them. If one wants to understand death, they will need the suffering of the hangman of 12. The high priestess, the 2, needs the universe, or needs to surrender to 11 to reach death. In other words, Mother Earth can only be killed by the universe, and 12, faith, God, or the hangman, stands between them and death. And he is too busy suffering to get out of the way. The Empress needs the wheel in the sky, or a bad turn at the wheel of fate, or fortune, to reach death. The link between childbirth and death can be clearly seen. The Emperor needs wild, free thoughts of philosophy to bring his empire to death. This is the main reason wealthy men fear thought. The Hierophant needs strength to face death. A holy man has no fear of death, and therefore it is very easy for a 5 to reach 13. 13 is the number of a Hollywood version of a witch's coven. 12 witches and Satan. While witches or women like to do things in threes, making level 12 the home of witches in mass, not level 13. It's a floor everyone likes to pretend does not exist, as well as Jesus and his 12 disciples, or the musician and the 12 divine notes, the judge and the jury, the school and the graduation. Friday the 13th and the death of the Knights Templar, perhaps the first death hoax. It is the number NASA fears. Apollo 13, the name of which is clearly a sign of trickery. Americans fear 13. They do not like to number anything 13. No 13th floor, no 13th airplane. If it had been real, they would have called Apollo 13 by a different name or would have made it a non-man mission. Due to the trouble with Apollo 13, NASA only ended up with 12 men on the moon, as the 13th man would be trouble, or the death of NASA. 6 and 7, Lovers and the Law of Man, is one of the easiest and fastest ways to reach level 13, or death. Another perfect example of the tri-unity of duality in the Fool's Game. The entire 6 and 7 drama, which was created by the 3, the Gemini, Cain and Abel, the twins, the kids, is a quick and easy, surefire way to level 13. Given we have made it through the first 12 levels, and we have gone through all the 12 notes, a 1 or a 2 might think that music has run its course. But like everything in the Fool's Game, this is where the duality of the tri-unity comes in. And there are several ways and reasons music is a part of the entire journey. We can start with the heartbeat, the real reason we all love a 4/4 beat, as it is the first sound we hear, and perhaps the last. In the Zodiac, this riddle of music is solved by the use of the Greek alphabet and possibly the drinking game Up and Down the River. The alphabet does not simply repeat with the 13th letter, N, corresponding to Aries. Instead, we reverse the direction or mirroring the way we came. The duality. This means Pisces is both mu and nu, and not the omega. It is not the end, but the middle, or the loop within a loop, where the middle, the start, and the end all converge at one single point, or the zero, the home of the fool. This is why death, physical death, not to the starting point or even the end, but to the 0 point, or what the CERN PSYOPs scientists like to call the God particle, the home of the fool, the hill. Each sign in the zodiac is dominated by either male or female. For example, Aries is a male sign, and therefore the male gets the major, while the female Aries gets the A minor. Taurus is female-based sign, therefore the female gets B major, while the male Taurus is B minor. Pisces is female, and therefore level 12 gets G sharp major, while the male, or 13, gets F flat minor. However, I believe death, like the holy man, is noteless, or has no sound found in music. Perhaps the 13th note is silence, or like the floor, does not exist. As for the Fool's Game, 13 is not the end of the road, unless it is physical death, and even then, that might only be a reset or a new life. Those playing from a Freemasonic background, level 13 is a rite of passage. Symbolic death play is a major thing in Freemasonry role play. It is when a new member in the order becomes an official member in the Brotherhood of Lies of 9. So, to those behind the Lies of 9, level 13 is when they arrive, and therefore is celebrated. To the outsider, the high-level seeker, the truther, who has gotten beyond all the obvious lies and tricks, and realizes they are, for better or worse, closer to those behind the Lies of 9 versus those stuck on level 1. It is a symbolic death, or deaths, of all our old ways of thinking, depending on the level of death a player is currently playing part of, or all their former perceptions have to die, or no longer exist as perceived reality, before they can move beyond death into the second half of the Fool's Game. It is a time of grieving, or coming to terms with the lies which make up the Fool's Game, as well as the new reality one currently finds themselves in. The tarot, like the rest of the Fool's Game, is tailored to each player. To the Freemason, level 13 is a celebration, while to the outsider, the truther, the seeker, level 13 is a time of getting over the shock of what was learned while being the hangman. Depending on what level of death a seeker or truther is playing, it might be 9/11, Sandy Hook, banking, or everything they were taught, which perishes on level 13, and it might be a very sad time. However, on the higher levels of death, the outsider becomes the insider, or one of those in the know, and has accepted the death of their former version of reality or knowing. Like death itself, many players do not care to go anywhere near level 13, while others linger on level 13 far longer than they need to. Death is a bridge to the other side of the Fool's Game. It is like the ladder to nowhere between heaven and earth. Faith and death are both avenues or passageways to another part of the Fool's Game. The two are mirrored images of each other, and both reside in Pisces. Mu, or the female, faith, water, and the Nu, the male, death, or the seed, or the serpent. The Nu half sounds a lot more like Kappa Omicron than a fish. Temperance, or level 14, is one of the more soothing levels in the game. In older European tarot decks, there were often 2 extra temperance cards. Given the duality of womankind, it is very fitting that the other temperance cards would often appear in place of the Lovers and the Chariot, level 6 and 7, as Zeta and Eta, or the Virgin and the Law of Man. Libra, or the Scales of Man, is carted around by a blindfolded woman. 2 7s make 14. There is a balance to temperance, which was one of the main reasons she is often placed in the role of 7. Given this is rarely the case with modern courts or the current law of man, balance is no longer fitting for level 7, or the level of man, been replaced by the Chariot. Temperance, as 14, is an award for making it through the other side of the fool's game. A rest in the suffering of the hangman and the death of knowing the realities and perceptions of this world. There's a balance in the player of thought and direction on level 14. To reach level 14, or temperance, one needs death. The magician needs to rid himself of his former life to find balance. The high priestess, the two, only needs faith, or to spend a little time hanging upside down to reach perfect balance. The empress, or the mother, needs justice, or universal judgment, to obtain equilibrium. The wealthy man, the emperor, needs the wheel of fortune to find peace of mind, which is not an easy task. It's a bit of a gamble. The holy man, the hierophant, the five of man, needs philosophy, or the lies of nine, or the wisdom of the hermit, the shaman, to reach level 14. Lovers only need strength to reach harmony, while the laws of man only need to be balanced, which was once obtainable goal given the placement of the second Temperance card in the old European decks. It would also find a place on level 6 given the zodiac's trouble with the two halves of women, the Zeta meaning 7, yet is the 6th in line, which can be seen in the High Priestess and the Empress as well. This placement was logical and fitting. Naturally, when you get up in levels, there are other possible combinations to each level 14 and beyond. 14 is represented in the human hand, or the number of digits on each hand. 2 hands is 28. 2 plus 8 are 10, or perfection, the wheel in the sky, Marcia. 14 is the female half of Aquarius, as lovely as the temperance level of the fool's game is. A player at this stage of the game should know they cannot linger in level 14 for very long, as the fool's game will not allow it. Level 15 is a mirrored level of level 6, the lovers. 1 and 5, which makes up 15, equals 6, as in level. In the zodiac, this is Omicron, which often means Jesus, and is the eye, as well as the sea serpent, love and bondage. The dark side of romance, sex and commitment. The male, serpent side of Capricorn. The minor, to the perfection of 10, or the major. 15 is a deadly trap, unlike level 6, where the players spend a lifetime trying to get to or back into. Level 15 is always open to almost every player in the game. Those looking for level 6, 10, 11, and even 12 will more likely than not mistakenly find level 15 instead. The sex is naughty, and what many would call hot, but everybody agrees is soulless and a trap. Unlike the other traps, this one is rather dark and ugly. Those that have to linger on level 15 are those which got to the other half of the game through the lies of 9 and a celebrated death. Here is the price to be paid for the free passage for the insider. It is called level 15. There is great power in level 15 for those willing to commit to the enslavement or bondage of level 15. This is the card or level many level 5 players claim is the reason for all the ills in the fool's game. Many players believe that level 15 is always trying to get a player of the fool's game to enter the devil's labyrinth. Fittingly, 15 is made up of 3 fives, or 3 holy men, or Hierophants, which is a reversed version of the 3 stages of woman, which is easily connected to 9 and 12, while the Hierophant is easily linked to the devil, which points out the obvious link to the church and the dark 15. The Hierophant can also use the Wheel of Fortune, the great wheel in the sky, to reach the dark level of 15. To reach the devil, the one, the magician, needs the help of Temperance, or the triple love goddess, to see in the dark. While a 2, a high priestess, only needs Death to find her dark side. This death could be a simple death of her status as a 2 by becoming a 3. The mother, the empress, or the 3 needs to surrender to Faith, or the 12, the bridge between heaven and earth. The mother is placed in bondage by this move and may become hopelessly trapped in a twisted fate. It is the 3 versus the 5 battle all over again, but on a much higher level of the gameplay. Duality is the trademark of the Fool's Game, and as one levels up, the divide becomes clear. But do not forget, the Fool's Game is full of tricks, and the duality is one of the best ones. The Emperor needs justice or the secrets of the cosmos to pay his ticket into bondage. The lovers only need to overthink their love to become enslaved to it. This is why it is easy for the lovers to find themselves on level 15. The Chariot, or the law of man, only needs to become overbearing or have the strength to find the devil. Just like power, force only needs justification of the law of man to become corrupt and the tool of evil. The hermit will only find the devil if he leaves his mountaintop and returns to the city looking for love. The Wheel of Fortune, or Fate, the Martia, will find level 15 through the Hierophant, or the Holy Man. The universe can be placed in bondage by the wealthy, or the Emperor. Think NASA. Faith, or the 12, has to use the Mother, the 3, to reach level 15. See the Virgin Mary, or the first 2 numbers in the square root of the Vesica Piscis, 12.3, or the Moon. Death, and the High Priestess is another version of 12 and 3, where the higher level needs the lower one. Once again, duality. Temperance only needs the 1 to set her out of balance and into the prison of 15. Thanks to Hollywood, we know the devil's prefix is 555, or the reverse of womankind. On a personal note, many of my subscribers or longtime members of the Seeker Mafia have commented or noticed that YouTube had been keeping my subscription number at 555 for the longest time. Does YouTube think I'm the devil or level 15? I guess one man's devil is another man's savior, or Jesus. And given the obvious nature of Google and YouTube, I will reverse or mirror that claim, and I must be a force of good if YouTube is calling me the devil. Once again, how one sees the tarot, or the Fool's Game, is what one calls evil and good. Part of the Fool's Game is to see how many times a player will switch sides and for what reasons. If anything, the fool is the watcher and gets off on how we all play his game. I cannot say exactly where I am, but I am playing for real, and I have made my intentions clear enough. However, I do not want to speak too loudly on the subject, as I don't need to give away all my cards until the final hand. There's also the possibility that YouTube and my small number of cyber friends or seeker mafia is my bondage. As hot and powerful as level 15 might be to the Freemason free pass crowd, more to the fool's game than just the devil's sex slave shack of eternal bondage. Now, with all-you-can-eat buffet. Many players of the fool's game, or the tarot game of life, falsely think the devil is the worst or the most dangerous card in the deck.